Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land. Here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that Twin Cities frame. Keep, ancient lands, your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my light beside the golden door. Emma Lazarus.
So, the question is, from you, what is so important about immigration? Immigration describes and defines our country as a melting pot. And so a great pride is taken from the different countries that have populated our country with immigrants. So we truly are a nation of immigrants. But there is obviously a lot of people who oppose immigration. Second question from you is Donald Trump an immigrant?
What? There is. Because it turns out the name Trump was not always his family's name. One biographer found that a prescient ancestor had changed it from, and this is true, Drumpf. Yes. King Drumpf. And Drumpf is much less magical.
So as you can see, Donald Trump is also a grandson of immigrants whose original name from Germany is Drumpf, not Trump. Next question is, where do most immigrants come from? So here I've asked the question, where do most immigrants come from today? And from today, the largest total foreign-born is from Mexico. Another question that you ask is, can immigrants get deported? Yes. Next question you ask is, why do people immigrate? Many different reasons: war, violence at home from their countries, poverty, natural disasters. Your next question is, who was the first family deported? This was a woman who preached anarchy, which means fighting against the government. She was a worker who migrated from Russia to New York and began to speak out against the conditions for workers. She said that the working people should rise up, and there was a man who was mentally deranged who heard some of her ideas and got some ideas and killed the president at the time, President McKinley. Later, she was, many years later, she was deported, and that was one of the biggest reasons why, is she was enemy number one. She spent some time in prison, but she was deported back to Russia along with a lot of other political leaders born from other countries. You also ask, who was the first family deported? So let's hear about Operation Wetback. Here, Mexicans were given temporary visas to the United States where they could work, and then the visa was to expire and they were to return, and many remained. Trump referenced this story when he was running for office.
CNN reality check on an immigration claim made last night in the debate. Donald Trump noted that one great president, Dwight Eisenhower, deported illegal immigrants just as Trump would if he is elected.
moved 1.5 million illegal immigrants out of this country. Moved them just beyond the border, they came back. Moved them again beyond the border, they came back. Didn't like it. Moved them way south, they never came back.
Eisenhower's policy was named Operation Wetback. It was implemented in 1954. It deported undocumented immigrants deep into Mexico. Now, many of them were brought to the United States through wartime programs, and their temporary contracts were not renewed. Now, the exact number of people deported is unclear, but one detail Trump left out: the transfer process was widely criticized as inhumane at the time, and later, in fact. Some people were dropped off without resources in the desert. Some people died from heat stroke. Others drowned during transport in overloaded ships. So the CNN reality check, Trump's claim is true, but misleading.
Okay. So there were other immigrant groups also deported. There was a law that was passed called the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, where you can see that they banned new Chinese from coming and exported many of them. Angel Island is where many were trapped trying to enter the United States. Your final question. Finally, many of you may have heard of Japanese Americans who, when we went to war against Japan after they attacked our military, our Navy in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, Japanese who were born in the United States were considered untrustworthy and perhaps spies, and so their land and their shops and their apartments were confiscated by the US government, and many of those apartments and businesses that were Japanese owned that closed were found here in Oakland and Berkeley and San Francisco. They were brought to the interior of the country and kept behind barbed wire for many months. It was only until many years later that court orders made the US government pay money back to the Japanese who had lost, we could say, everything. So that's it, guys. I hope that I answered your questions about immigration. Thank you.